So today's topic is about the plethora of choice. Decision making. I feel we don't have any updated guides for decision making. Maybe there never were, like books to teach you how to think. See, I always thought those would be good for engineering. I guess you're just supposed to know how to think. And most of the people going to engineering know how to think. But what about people in medicine? Do they know how to think? There's supposed to be classes to that effect, right? People ask me all the time. Well, not really. There's classes on how to be a doctor in a sense of, ethical obligations. Some schools have legal ramifications of what you do, how to protect yourself, CYA they call it. But in terms of thinking, the closest one I would have to say is pathophysiology, diagnosing issues. You get a constellation of symptoms and you're supposed to come up with a diagnosis. Yeah, you can run some lab tests if you want. What do you want to run? How do you know what to run? How do you know when to send off more tests? Which approach is better? Is it the iterative approach where you look into a few possibilities and then if those don't pan out, you look into more? Should you start with the exhaustive approach first? Where you look into all the possibilities with some simple screening tests? Either way, technology has advanced. A lot of things are different nowadays versus 2,000 years ago. Many people say the problems facing humans are always the same. And I would say, yeah, that's mostly all true. What's the purpose of life? What am I going to eat for the next meal? Yeah, it's definitely correct that most of the problems that we're dealing with, the Greeks thought about thousands of years ago, phrased differently only, and in a different language, presumably. But, presumably because there's still some people who speak Greek. But the thing that's really different nowadays is choice. We have so many choices, too many choices, shall we say. And we don't know how to decide amongst all these choices. See, the thing that's hardest nowadays isn't finishing your job on time so you can get out at 5 p.m. Isn't dealing with customers. It's this sort of puzzle game quest where you browse through Yelp and you try to find which restaurant you are really going to like in that new place you're going. It's really, really hard. It's basically impossible. You haven't gone there. You're reading reviews on all these biased people, many of whom criticize the waitress for not smiling enough, or the bathrooms for not being clean. Come on, you're going to a Chinese restaurant, what do you expect? Or for not letting you use the bathroom even though you're not a customer and have no intention of ever being a customer. Now that they haven't let you use the bathroom, you have no idea what they sell anyways, though. That's really hard. It's not something that AI could solve, data collection, because it involves so much more. You really need a personal guide, a butler, or even more so than a butler, somebody who knows your choices. I guess a spouse might work. They know where to take you to make you happy. Like this lady who posts on Instagram this photo of her at this Disneyland resort special facility called 21 and viewing the fireworks with her husband. Only cost 15 grand. Includes some Disneyland tickets, full dinner, etc. Only 15 grand. You could invite a few more people, maybe 14 total. See, in the past, you didn't have all these choices. Some would say, well, yeah, the king had lots of choices. Well, yeah, the king may have had his choice of any woman in the land. And maybe there were a grand total of 10,000 fair maidens in the land. Well, guess what? Go onto any online dating site and you're connected to people all around the world. And would you think there's more than 10,000 of them? When you go to the market, even though you're the king and you have all the money in the world, you're still gonna select from what vegetables, and a guy looks at you like, sir, it's winter. We have one vegetable, it's called potato. Would you like some? Please, sir. I mean, there just simply wasn't much of an option. It wasn't until literally a few hundred years ago that Marco Polo made it all the way to China. And to think that maybe before then there wasn't pizza or pasta? In Chinese, the word for watermelon is Western melon. Let me guess, it didn't actually originate in Asia. It came from somewhere else. In the New World, which is literally also, half a millennia ago, they brought a lot of food back over to Europe that they've never had before. Well, then the king, what about stuff that like you make, you buy? You can have people make anything for him. Well, yeah, that's true. But guess what? The people who make it have to know how to make it. You don't just go online and download the latest, 3D printing schema for, a crystal ball and print it out at home. No. You need to know who can make it. But who can make it may not necessarily be who can design it. You may even have to design it yourself. People may think you're possessed. I mean, even though you're a king, you could still be wrong, right? I mean, crazy. And now you could just use your app, search for this or that. Hire people, even though we are just peasants nowadays, not royalty. Hire people to make all sorts of delicate crafts for you. You want to be your own designer, but you don't really know how to design? That's no problem. An architect will work with you. Just sign here on the dotted line to your vast fortunes. So they could access it, of course, just for the building purposes. You could hire friends now. Japan has that service. You can do just about anything. See, in the past, money wasn't simply everything. And now it is, meaning you could get almost anything. Currently, my dilemma is food. I'm in Vancouver, more specifically Richmond, just south of Vancouver, where lots of Chinese people are, mainly Cantonese speakers from Hong Kong. And there are a lot of Asian food options. A lady at the hotel complained the other day when I was checking in, she was just in front, saying that you don't have any restaurants near here. Well, ma'am, there are a lot of Asian restaurants. I guess she didn't get that memo that, this happens to be a lot of Asian people here. And I mean, admittedly, it is difficult because some of the places, a lot of the signs are in Chinese and they speak to you in Chinese. Some places don't even have staff that speak English, it seems. But there are so many options. How do I decide? I mean, one way that's sort of good is not everything is open. See, we went to Empire Center. I read about it on a website, I forgot, news or whatever. Person writing about these 3 places you gotta try, commenting how one place is never open. Well, it's not just one place. Many places there seem to never be open. Of course, I'm just there one time, so I can't really make that statement. But, my choices were rather simple because I just chose what's open. And there are only 3 shops open today. Today is also Labor Day, statutory holiday. But they're Chinese. They have nothing else to do. No work today. Come make some money, right? And there's only limited stomach, so I can't eat everything even though I wanted to. But there's so many other places. I mean, I have 1 week here. I'm gonna try to walk to every single place at least to look at it. Because looking at stuff online just doesn't do it justice, right? Reviews are biased. Some people say this or that. It may be a few years ago when this was the best and it's long been surpassed by another place somewhere else. But basically, when it comes on to food choices, right? There's a few ways that I choose. One is you get hungrier and hungrier as you keep wandering. You gotta just make a decision sometimes. Gives you a little bit of a time constraint. You get tired of driving around and walking, another thing. And the last thing is I usually choose what I can't get the week after. See, if I'm here, where lots of Asian food is, and I'm gonna go back to Oregon next week, where a lot of Asian food is not, I'll probably choose Asian food. But then I'm gonna be in Asia next month, so I might want to choose the food I could get in Asia. Say Vietnamese food, Japanese food. Because I'll get them. Taiwanese food, yeah, I'll be there too in a month. It's difficult, right? How do you choose? That's one way. But that way is relatively bad. In the same way that they talk to you about planning for life and how you shouldn't just be putting out fires, doing stuff right before the deadline hits. Oh, I gotta pay this bill, otherwise I'll be late tomorrow. Oh, I gotta work on this because it's due in 2 days. Ah, right? That's not how life should be spent. Unplanned, just doing stuff because it's coming due. They call it putting out fires method. Fire pops up, we put it out. And then fire pops up, put it out. Never actually do any tree cutting or, undergrowth like chopping, clearing to try to not have so many fires pop in the future. But what is a better way?